The four-star general froze when he saw the tattoo on her wrist. His hand, extended for a handshake, slowly pulled back as recognition hit him. "Call sign Phantom," he whispered. The entire command center thought she was just a consultant. They had no idea they were looking at a legend they'd assumed was dead. The dust of the Nevada desert settled on everything with gritty impartiality. It coated the hangars, the razor wire, and the woman who stepped off the transport bus at Marine Corps Base 29 Palms. Her worn duffel bag slung over a shoulder that seemed too slight to carry any real weight. Her name was Elena Cross, and she arrived without fanfare, a civilian ghost materializing at the gates. The guards at the gate, two young lance corporals simmering in the heat, watched her approach. Their eyes, trained to assess threats, slid over her plain clothes and lingered on her skin. A lattice of pale, silvery scars crisscrossed her forearms, a delicate, brutal map of forgotten violence. A thin white line cut vertically through her left eyebrow, giving her a look of perpetual focus. "Check it out," one corporal whispered. "Think she got in a fight with a cheese grater?" The other snickered. "Nah, bad date with a lawnmower." They saw a woman, a civilian, and scars they filed under mundane tragedy. Nothing that mattered here. Elena's gaze swept over the sprawling base, taking in the heat shimmer rising from the tarmac and the distant thud of artillery practice. She heard their words, the casual cruelty of youth, but her expression remained unchanged. She was a still point in the swirling wind. She presented her papers with economical movements. The guard's derision cooled slightly as he saw the official letterhead, orders assigning her as a technical consultant. The term was vague, bureaucratic. It made her less than a person. It made her a problem. He handed back her ID with a shrug and waved her through. She was someone else's problem now. Colonel Richards' office was an oasis of climate-controlled order. Metals gleamed in glass cases, and a massive American flag stood sentinel in the corner. Richards himself was carved from rigid material, square-jawed with discipline so ingrained it had ironed all softness from his face. He looked at Elena seated across his imposing desk and saw an administrative headache. He tapped her personnel file, a folder that was insultingly thin. "Miss Cross," he began, his voice a low rumble of authority. "Your file is light on details. It says you're here to consult on systems integration." He leaned forward, his gaze sliding to her scarred forearms. "We run a very demanding operation here. What exactly is your expertise?" "Diagnostics," Elena replied, her voice low and even. "Integration." The simplicity seemed to irritate him. He'd expected nervous explanations, justifications. He received only facts. "Very well," he said, closing the file with a thud. "We have a new drone program. Squadron VDX-3. They've been having issues. You can observe their operations. See if your diagnostics offer insight." It was a dismissal. He was assigning her to a troubled unit, a place to sit quietly until her assignment ended. "Lieutenant Parker will show you to the hangar. Stay out of the way of my Marines. They have a job to do." Elena simply nodded, offering no crack for his institutional arrogance to gain purchase. The hangar assigned to VTX-3 was a cavern of noise and energy. The metallic clang of tools echoed off high ceilings, mixed with the whine of turbines and shouted jargon of young men who believed they were masters of the universe. Elena was given a small desk in a corner, a forgotten island in controlled chaos. The drone pilots and maintenance crews gave her wide berth. They saw her as Richards did. General Hayes, a man whose name was spoken with fear and reverence at the Pentagon, was arriving for inspection. His visit centered on a massive training exercise designed to showcase VTX-3's advanced drone capabilities. For Colonel Richards, this wasn't just a drill. It was the hinge on which his next promotion would swing. The exercise dawned clear and brutally hot. From the high-tech command center, Richards and his staff watched the main display screens, confidence radiating through the room. General Hayes stood behind them, a silent, imposing figure. The exercise began flawlessly. The first wave of MQ-9 Reapers launched, their feeds painting perfect views of the training range. Then it happened. The primary feed flickered. Garbled code scrolled across the screen. A second drone went dark. Then a third. Within 60 seconds, cascading systems failure ripped through the network. Screens went black one by one, replaced by torrents of red error messages. "What's happening?" Richards barked, panic rising in his voice. "Comms, give me a sitrep." "Sir, we've lost primary command link," a young lieutenant stammered. "The whole network is down. It's some kind of ghost code. We can't isolate it. The room devolved into frantic scramble. Technicians hammered keyboards, yielding nothing. Pilots shouted into dead headsets. The entire multi-million-dollar squadron was flying blind, deaf, and dumb metal bird about to fall from the sky. Richards's face was a mask of cold fury, his career evaporating before his eyes. Behind him, General Hayes watched, his silence more damning than any reprimand. In her forgotten corner, Elena had been monitoring secondary data streams on a ruggedized laptop. She saw the failure coming 18 seconds before it hit the command center. She watched chaos unfold, her expression unchanged. She wasn't panicked. She was focused. As chaos reached crescendo, Elena stood up. She walked from her quiet corner, steps measured and unhurried, moving directly toward the main systems console. Lieutenant Parker turned and saw her. He put out a hand to stop her, face mixing fear and irritation. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area," he snapped. "You need to step away." Elena didn't look at him. Her eyes were fixed on the waterfall of red error codes cascading down the screen. "I can fix it," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the din like a surgeon's scalpel, precise and absolutely certain. She didn't wait for permission. She reached past the stunned lieutenant and gently moved a technician aside. She sat at the console, and the room seemed to fall silent around her. Her hands moved over the keyboard, not typing, but performing. No wasted motions, no hesitation. Her fingers danced in controlled energy, focus absolute. She wasn't running standard diagnostics. She was diving deep into the system's core architecture, pulling up lines of raw code most techs had only read about in manuals. The flood of error messages slowed. Frantic blinking lights on server racks began stabilizing. She found the malicious code, a sophisticated polymorphic worm designed to mimic diagnostic pulses. With deft keystrokes, she didn't just delete it. She trapped it, built a digital cage around it, rerouted the entire network's protocol through legacy channels, and purged corrupted pathways. The entire process took less than 4 minutes. One by one, drone feeds flickered back to life. Screens switched from red errors to serene, high-altitude desert views. The system wasn't just restored. It was stronger, inoculated against the very threat that had crippled it. Elena's hands fell still. She took a quiet breath. In the profound silence of the command center, she had single-handedly wrestled the ghost from the machine and won. Every eye was on the unassuming woman at the console. Lieutenant Parker stared, mouth agape, condescending authority completely drained. The cocky pilots looked at her not as an outsider, but as some kind of sorcerer. Over comms, Richards's voice crackled. "Command, what's your status?" The lieutenant fumbled for his handset. "Sir, it's stable. Network's back online." It was the consultant, sir. Miss Cross. She fixed it." The words hung in the air, admission of failure and testament to her shocking competence. The exercise resumed, but simulated opposition adapted, shifting to electronic warfare. Powerful targeted assault flooded airwaves, jamming command frequencies with sophisticated frequency-hopping algorithms the squadron's countermeasures couldn't track. This time, there was no panic. Every head turned instinctively toward Elena. Richards's voice came over comms again, stripped of former arrogance. "Cross," he said, the name now a plea. "What are we up against?" Elena didn't look up from her laptop. "It's an old Shadowhawk protocol," she said calmly. "Aggressive frequency hopping designed to sever command links. But they have a weakness. They can't penetrate analog-hardened systems." She looked up, gaze sweeping until it landed on Parker. General Hayes descended from the observation tower, face a granite mask of contemplation. He walked past saluting officers, eyes scanning until they found who he was looking for. Colonel Richards hurried to his side. "General Hayes," he said formally. "This is the consultant I mentioned, Miss Cross." He stopped in front of her. He was tall, looking down not with authority, but with intense curiosity. He started to extend his hand in professional courtesy. But then he froze. His eyes had fallen on her forearms, on the intricate silvery web of scars that told a story far beyond simple accident. His gaze shifted to her wrist, to the single black raven's wing tattoo nestled among damaged skin. The general's blood seemed to drain from his face. His hand, suspended in midair, slowly pulled back. The mask of command shattered, replaced by profound shock and something else. Reverence. "The ghost of Kandahar," he whispered, voice almost lost in the hangar's hum. He wasn't talking about the drone. He was looking at her, eyes shooting from tattoo to face, truly seeing her for the first time. Cross, he breathed. Call sign. Phantom. The room went utterly still. The name Phantom wasn't from any official roster. It was legend, myth whispered in classified briefings, a solo operator from a Tier 1 unit, so secret it was deniable. A ghost who could slip behind enemy lines and dismantle entire networks from inside out. A Phantom credited with dozens of high-value missions before being listed as killed in action during a rescue operation that went sideways. The scars weren't misfortune. They were the last known report of a legend written in flesh. General Hayes's posture shifted. He straightened, shoulders squared, and all weight of his 4 stars seemed to vanish, replaced by simple respect of one soldier for another. Slowly, with deliberate precision, he brought his hand to his brow and rendered a sharp, perfect salute. It wasn't the perfunctory gesture of superior officer. It was tribute. He wasn't saluting a civilian consultant. He was saluting a warrior he and the world thought was long dead. The act sent shock waves through the room. Colonel Richards, face a kaleidoscope of dawning comprehension and burning shame for his dismissal, immediately snapped to attention. One by one, compelled by force greater than regulation, every Marine turned to face Elena. The cocky pilots, humbled technicians, stunned lieutenants, they all came to rigid attention. No orders given. It was spontaneous, unanimous chorus of respect. They were saluting a ghost, a legend made real. Elena stood in the eye of this silent storm. She didn't speak, didn't smile. The stoic calm that had been her shield remained unbroken. After a long moment, she gave a single, almost imperceptible nod, quiet acknowledgement, silent acceptance of their tribute. The gesture said everything she wouldn't. I am here. I see you. Let's move on. Elena's departure was as quiet as her arrival, but the atmosphere was fundamentally changed. General Hayes had personally intervened, ensuring her file was classified at levels preventing future administrative headaches. She waited for transport near the hangar, same worn duffel at her feet. She stood beside the wreck, the old drone she'd resurrected. Its battered fuselage seemed less like decay now, more like badge of honor. Corporal Martinez approached hesitantly, stopping at respectful distance. His earlier curiosity was replaced with profound reverence. He didn't ask about Kandahar or call sign Phantom. The questions felt intrusive. Instead, he simply said, "Thank you, ma'am, for everything." Elena turned from the drone to look at him. She saw not a cocky Marine, but a young man who'd learned crucial lessons about judging others. She reached out and lightly touched a patch panel on the drone's wing, a spot where shrapnel had once torn through. "Take care of the old ones," she said, voice soft but firm. "They have stories to tell." With that, she turned and walked toward the waiting vehicle. She climbed in without backward glance, leaving the corporal standing in the vast hangar mouth. The final image was of her inside the vehicle, the raven's wing tattoo visible for a fleeting moment before the door closed, and she was gone, a ghost fading back into the world. The great hangar door began to slide shut, afternoon sun narrowing to a single bright sliver, illuminating dancing dust motes in the air. The silence that filled the space was no longer dismissive or empty. It was heavy, thoughtful, quiet, imbued with weight of legend who had walked among them, unrecognized. The steady hum of newly robust systems was the only sound, quiet testament to silent strength that had passed through and transformed them all. Sometimes legends don't announce themselves. Sometimes they just fix what's broken and disappear back into the shadows, leaving behind only whispers and the knowledge that extraordinary people walk among us, unrecognized until the moment we need them most. Elena Cross, call sign Phantom, reminded everyone that true strength doesn't need recognition. It just needs to get the job done.